try some refreshed beer and tasty food? It's Angela. I'd like to introduce you the best local food and keep you healthy. Today I'm at Elora Brewing Company. We're gonna try some amazing food here. Are you ready for it? Follow me. Hi, good morning, Nathan. Thank you for being our guest. Could you tell me about your story here?
Yeah, so my name is Nathan Brady. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at the Elora Brewing Company. We're standing inside a 160-year-old limestone building, and we opened our doors in 2015. And as you can see behind us, we have a production brewery in the back. We have a 130-seat restaurant.
So how do you enjoy here?
Yeah, it's a great place to work. It's a really cool town. There's lots of artists in here. There's lots of painters and woodworkers and musicians in town, and a lot of farmers, so it's a really cool cultural hub. We try to make this space a hub for people to come and drink and have a good time.
Okay, so what makes here unique?
What makes our beers unique is we stick to traditional recipes, and they're great
Yes.
for new craft drinkers, but the attention to detail and the
Okay.
quality is great for new craft beer drinkers. And the building and space itself is very unique. It's a 160-year-old limestone building. It used to be a hardware store. It used to be a tea shop at one point. It was built in the 1860s. There was a big fire in town and it burned down in the 60s and it was rebuilt. So yeah, the physical space, the vibe we create, because we want everyone to feel like it's my brewery when they walk out of here.
Okay.
So it boils down to the service, the quality of the food. We farm, we source local food locally from local farms. We try to use Canadian ingredients when we can in the beer recipes.
Yes.
We have a great, passionate group of staff members who are very creative and take a lot of pride in the work that they do. So our uniqueness comes from the creativity that we foster here at Elora.
Yes. It's beautiful here. The building so traditional. Just feels like you're coming from a museum or somewhere.
Yeah, no, it is like there's a lot of rich history.
Yeah.
And on the wall behind us here, there's old photos of the town.
Yes.
And like I mentioned, a lot of people have known this building, and generations of family members have worked here when it's been the hardware shop or the tea shop over the years. So there's a lot of rich history. And the owners, when they decided to open a brewery, want to respect that history and that heritage.
Yes.
So that's why we kept a lot of the architecture, the exposed beams. The tables are made out of wood, sourced out of the building. We kept the floors. So yeah, we wanted to honor that tradition of Elora because it is this traditional mill town. But again, back in the 70s and 80s, all these artists started moving to town and blended the two cultures together to make this really unique tourist destination.
So you got very good rich history here.
Yes.
And the beer is very attractive as well, right? People enjoying having beer here.
They do, yeah. So the beer, like I mentioned earlier, it's a production brewery, and we're in about 250 restaurants across Ontario. You can find our beers in 150 LCBOs across the province. And one of our flagship beers, the Elora Borealis Pale Ale, is one of the top 50 beers in the LCBO. So yeah, we have a great reputation for craft beer because of the quality and the attention to detail. So people new to it can try it and love it, and then the serious craft drinkers try it and love it too.
Okay, sounds great. How about your dishes, your cuisine?
Yeah,
Where
so
do you get your
so we're very locally minded. So we work with about 10 or so local farmers within about a 40-50 kilometer radius to source a lot of our ingredients. And we also do seasonal recipes as well. So we take a lot of pride in trying to work with our local producers. There's some in Fergus, just about 10 minutes away. We get hops from them. Some producers, we buy meat products from local producers and vegetables, so very, very close. We use a lot of people out of Guelph, out of Arthur. So yeah, we take pride in that, and the creative juices get flowing in the kitchen, so they inspire their team to do daily features and use these local ingredients
very cool.
in addition to like our regular seasonal menu. So yeah, we try to foster everywhere here just a lot of creativity. So we allow the brewery team to try out new recipes and new styles of beer. Plus allow the kitchen to do the same thing and be creative.
So they are most locally sourced. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you develop those recipes?
Yeah, so the recipes essentially come from just creative inspiration. So in the fact that they allow themselves to just look at the pile of ingredients and the local farms, like what can we make out of this in a seasonal dish? So the kitchen team will take ideas from everyone, they'll take ideas from new technology. So the inspiration again just kind of comes what's available. They'll think about that farm to table connection. So really think about where the food comes from, the earth and like the rivers and the fields that inspire it. So they try to take inspiration from that and again just make a seasonal dish. And yeah, it's just let's have some fun, create delicious food so we have an elevated dining experience here to go along with the elevated beer experience.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
You must be proud of you here, right?
Yeah, it's a great team. I'm proud of everyone that works for us, and the ownership group is very proud of the team that they've assembled because we've hired passionate people, creative people, and that's what we want out of a team. And that's how we motivate them, is to give them freedom to be creative, to let their pride shine through every day. So yeah, very proud of the team.
So what do you see here in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, our goal is to become the most sought-after brewery in southwestern Ontario and to continually make this space a cultural hub and a community hub. But yeah, the goal is definitely to be the most sought-after place in the region. So we're a restaurant, we're a brewery, we're an event space, we're a concert venue. So yeah, just trying to get people to think of Elora when they're making a trip out of Toronto. And we're only about an hour and a half west of Toronto. We're about 25 minutes from downtown Kitchener-Waterloo and Guelph. So it's like, yeah, if you want to go out for a nice day, come to the town. There's the gorge here. There's lots of cool shopping. Come eat at the Elora Brewing Company. It's tasty food. It's great beer.
Yes.
But yeah, it's yeah, our goal is again to be one of the most sought after breweries and spaces in southwestern Ontario.
Very ambitious. I wish you good luck to the business.
Thank you. Yeah, we got a great passionate team, hardworking team, and yeah, we look forward to the challenge.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yes. So so could you show us about the facility here, the beer facility? I like to see how the process.
Sure.
And also, I smell the good. I sense the good smell from the kitchen. I would like to try some of your best dishes.
Definitely, we'll get you trying some beer and get you trying some dishes too.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So for our next dish, I'm gonna do our smoked pork belly.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi, how are you?
Smells good here.
Thank you.
What are you making for us today?
Today I'll be making our saffron risotto, which is a vegan dish with squash made 3 different ways. And also have our smoked pork belly dish with kind of like my take on pork and beans.
Okay, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So can you show us how to do it?
Yeah, of course. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll start with the risotto. So here I have vegetable stock that I made from lots of our scraps when we were prepping vegetables for lots of our dishes online. So I boiled all that down in a big pot and reduced down to a nice little stock. And for this dish I used Spanish saffron. I dropped just a little pinch in there. It gives it a nice aromatic flavor. Kind of changes the color a little bit. We'll go with a little garlic and shallots. Let that soften up a little bit. I'll add my butternut squash.
Okay.
So a lot of our food here, we actually rotate through 13 different farms in southwestern Ontario.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them are pretty local, which is pretty important to me to stay within the community, supporting local businesses and small farms and whatnot. So this squash I get from a farm just outside of Fergus on Highway 6 called Poppy Fields. So it's a small family-run farm.
Wow, I like the fire.
Yeah. It's a small family-run farm. TJ, he's well known in the community. He was a chef for 10 years previously before he started his farm out on his family property, which he does all organically, you know, all homegrown every year. He's part of the CSA program where people can get weekly food from him, whether they get it delivered to their house or they go to the farm themselves and pick that up. So as I said, in this dish I have 3 different squash. It's all butternut squash, but I have the honey roasted squash, which we do in the oven. And then I'll take some of that and we keep it nice and chunky. And then the rest of it we do a little puree.
Looks tasty.
So now that it's kind of sticking to the pan, it's still got a nice little movement to it. I'm gonna move on to plate. So you see it should just be able to pour that right on there. Third type of squash on here, I just have some butternut squash ribbons, which I take right off the squash as we're pureeing it down. I try to waste as little as possible. Just give it a light torch. There's some nice color on there.
Oh, wow.
Which in turn softens the squash enough for you to
Okay.
be able to eat it.
Oh, okay. So this is raw, and you
Yep.
want to make it soft, right?
It's so thin though that when you heat it up just ever so slightly that it's good to eat. And then I have here some pickled cauliflower, which we use our Lodestar beer, which is a rotating flavor. And just a typical pickling liquid. We also use, to get that pink color, I have,
Oh, it's cauliflower.
yeah.
Oh,
So I
okay.
have dehydrated purple beets
Oh, okay.
and turns into a powder.
Oh,
So we
okay.
put the powder right in the pickling liquid and it makes it a nice pink color. And then this here we have some microgreens, which is another local farm that we use in Guelph, who also services the Kawartha Lakes area. And these are beet greens.
Beet
so
greens.
the little baby
Oh,
beets as they're
oh,
coming
I
out.
see. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we got the beet powder in with the pickling liquid, and then got the beet greens on there. It's a nice earthy fall flavor.
First, yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like you are in the forest.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is our vegan butternut squash risotto.
Okay, very
Yep.
nice.
Yep. So for our next dish, I'm gonna do our smoked pork belly. So we have a brine that we take the pork belly in for 4 hours,
Oh,
and 4 days, and then we pull that out. We give it a good rinse, and then we put it on the smoker for 4 hours.
oh, okay.
So this pork belly comes in whole from one of our farms, Linton Pasture Pork, which is in Walton, Ontario. The man who runs that, his name is Jeffrey, and he traveled over to Europe to learn more about sustainable farming and raising these pigs from farrow to when they're ready for process. And he does that all out in Walton. There's very nice animals. He has some heritage breeds porks there. And yeah, so we bring that in, and then once it comes off the smoker, I take the skin off, and let the skin sit aside. I'll portion it all down into the size that we want for service, and then I take the skin, and then we scrape all the fat off of it. We boil it, and then I'll dry it off, and I'll dehydrate it for about an hour or two. It just depends on, every animal's different, right? So sometimes the times vary. And then I make pork rinds or pork crackling, out of the skin. So from the baked beans, so when I trim the belly down, we have lots of scrap meat because I square it off, and then I'll take the scrap meat and I'll chop it all up and we'll cook that, and I put that right in the beans. So no part of this meat goes to waste. Like I said, we got pork in the beans, pork goes on top, and then we use the skin as kind of a garnish, as a pork crackling.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, it's well used.
Yeah, try not to waste
Very
anything
nice.
whatsoever. So these are my baked beans. So I start the process with onions and roasted red peppers, and all that, the bacon scraps that I was talking about, I throw in there, and that as that fat melts, it acts as the oil to cook the onions and the roasted red peppers.
Okay.
And then we add our bourbon, which is honey Jim Beam. And then as that reduces down, I'll start adding all my other ingredients. I have a brown sugar dry rub spice that I've been using for about 10 years or so, which I learned from one of my old chefs up in the Collingwood area. So here actually we have a very nice honeycomb that we also get from a company called Thurston Honeybee Company.
Oh, okay.
It's run by a husband and wife, and Dan has multiple farms, honeycomb hives all over Ontario, lots in Guelph. Take my beans.
It looks very rich.
Yeah, nice fall. I take a lot of things, and I want people, when they eat my food, to almost trigger a memory, like
Yes.
if you go somewhere and you're like, oh my goodness, that smells
Yes,
like
yes.
grandma's house or something, right?
Yes,
You know?
It's like a
Yeah. I like to trigger those. I like
Yeah.
to feel those feelings when I eat food, so I want to try and give that to my customers as well. I'm just going to pull this out here. I'm just going to take that, place that right on top. Oh yeah, she's nice. And then, so this is our house-made beer honey sauce, which is, we use one of our stouts for this. So it's, think similar to a honey garlic sauce, but we use our beer when we make it, and we mix it in with the honey we get from Dan Thurston.
Oh, okay.
Just put a little of that on top. And then we're going to take our honeycomb, get a nice little piece out of here. Put that right on top, just like that.
Wow.
Then we're gonna take some of our crackling here, place that right on there as well. And I don't know if I talked about our greens. Jacob Goldfarb from Gold Farm Canada, he does all of our microgreens, and he's based in Guelph. So these are scarlet frills, which is a form of mustard. The other ones I previously used on there are the beets, as I said. And then I'm just going to place that right in there. And that's it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. Very rich. I feel a little bit chocolatey,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So good.
A little sweet.
Yeah, a little sweet. Okay, so could you tell us again what's this?
So again, we have our vegan saffron butternut squash risotto, which has pickled cauliflower, 3 different types of squash processes here. So we have the honey roasted squash, nice and chunky. During the cooking process, I put in the butternut squash puree, and then I take these little squash ribbons and peel them nice and thin, and we blowtorch them so they're just soft enough to eat and still have a nice little crunch in there.
Cool.
With our pickled cauliflower and our beet greens.
Yeah, I like the color. So bright.
Yeah.
How about the other one?
This is our smoked pork belly with our bourbon baked beans. And again, there's 3 different types of bacon in here. We have the trimmings of the pork belly goes right in the cooking process of the baked beans. The pork belly itself on top, and the pork crackling from the skin right there on top as garnish.
Okay, it looks very savory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and hearty,
Tasty, yeah.
warm.
Hearty. Yeah, yeah. It feels-
Warm you up on a nice
yeah,
cold
yeah,
day.
It's good when you have it in the winter time.
Mhm.
So what kind of beer will go with the dish?
With the risotto, we have the Three Fields Lager, which is a nice light, crisp beer that would go nice with the lightness of the squash dish. And the Roasty Toasty is a nice stout that would definitely pair well with the smoked pork belly there. Nice and hearty.
Yeah, the color looks good. Goes well with different dishes. Good pick. I feel I'm walking in the garden. I'm
Yeah.
in the in the fall forest, you know, kind of like you see the pumpkin everywhere,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah.
It's so seasonal.
Nice
And
fall
it's so
colors.
tasty. It's nutritious because you have those soup right inside, so it's so nutritious. Very rich. I feel a little bit chocolatey,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So good.
A little sweet.
Yeah, a little sweet.
Probably want-
Oh, very nice. I feel I'm in heaven.
I love pork.
It's
Such
beautiful.
a versatile animal. You can do so many things with it.
It's very tasty.
I'm gonna get some of this
Yeah.
crackling. But I'm gonna need some more of these beans because it reminds me of my mother.
What the dish reminds you about your mom or whatever?
So my mom used to make a pork dish like this, very similar, but she would just use thick cut bacon, not the pork belly. So that was kind of my inspiration behind that. Reminds me of mom.
That's sweet. Okay, every time I'm going to taste this, I'll remind me you, Jordan, and here, brewing place.
Yeah.
So Nathan, so what would you like to tell to your future customer?
Come out to Elora. It's a great town. There's lots going on. There's a great restaurant scene. There's a great music scene. Great quality food in town. There's lots of arts festivals. And we have the Elora Gorge, which is very beautiful to come check out. Yeah, come for a nice day. Come eat some delicious food. Taste some great beer. You can find us online at elorabrewingcompany.ca.
Great.
You can also find us on Instagram at Elora Brewing Company or on Facebook at Elora Brewing Company. But yeah, come check us out. And if you can't come to Elora, buy one of our great tasty beers at the LCBO. We're in about 150 LCBOs across the country.
Okay.
We have these 2 flagship beers all the time.
Okay.
And you can find us in Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph bars and restaurants. And we're in about 250 restaurants across Ontario. About half of them are about a half an hour's drive from here.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think everybody should come to check it out here. I enjoy here very much.
Thank you for coming, Angela.
Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Life tastes good.
Life tastes good.
Okay.